Hi there, thanks for tuning in again. As you can see, I'm doing another magazine look through today, but it's not Crash. I thought it was a bit unfair to keep doing issues of Crash as a look back. I thought maybe we should have a look at a couple of issues of Crash's rivals. There were three big magazines at the time. If you were a Spectrum owner, you had Crash, Sinclair User and Your Sinclair. Your Sinclair was the youngest. It had actually been Your Spectrum beforehand, and it changed to Your Sinclair in 1986, I think, sometime in 1986. And then we've got Sinclair User here, which was the oldest Spectrum mag and lasted the longest. And it was kind of the one that had the biggest rivalry with Crash for various reasons. So we've got two issues here. This is one of the first issues of Sinclair User that I remember buying. I never subscribed to it, but I'd buy it occasionally when I had some spare cash jangling around in my pocket. This one is number 62 from May 1987, and this is also from May 1987, and I don't know what number issue it is of Your Sinclair, but it'll be quite an early issue. So there you go, over 30 years ago, these two issues. Now, the one thing that I didn't trust about these two magazines was their reviews. They seemed to give some right dodgy games, some good reviews. Dished out the high scores far too often for my liking. It wasn't unusual for games to get like 20-30% in Crash, and then for them to get 5 stars in Sinclair User or 8 or 9 out of 10 in Your Sinclair, which always made me a bit suspicious of their reviews. But otherwise, they were pretty good magazines, to be honest, and quite a good read on occasion. So let's have a look first of all at this issue of Sinclair User. As you can see on the front cover, there's a huge spaceship, and it is promoting the game Star Raiders 2 and also the Sentinel as well. So I'll have a quick scoop through these as we've got two to get on with. So lots of previews to start off with, published by EMAP, of course, Sinclair User. This was interesting, I enjoyed this bit. PC Gamer did a similar thing in the 90s. They had a section called Uncensored where readers would send in their reviews of games, and quite often they'd disagree, and they'd often put the ones that disagree in the magazine Sinclair User. So this is what you could do as a reader. You could send in your games and send in your review of a game and a picture as well. And yeah, it was quite interesting that a lot of the reviews that the readers sent in disagreed. Like for instance, this one here, I remember Super Soccer getting a good review in Sinclair User, and this guy says he disagrees bitterly with it. Michael Scottney from Cornwall, and he wins a game for his trouble. So there you go. Zap Chat, which was a chap called John Rigler, I think his name was, and it was kind of a bit like Millie Mangram, which is Lloyd Mangram's column, where he talked about games upcoming and also games that had passed already. Quite interestingly here, he disagrees with a Sinclair User review as well. Judge Dredd got a good review in Sinclair User, unlike in Crash, and John Rigler seems to disagree with the review there. So there you go, a bit of a conflict going on here. So lots more Zap Chat. Then some pokes. I don't remember them having a dedicated tip section, but they did publish pokes and stuff as well in Sinclair User. Throne of Fire, first review here. Only 3 stars for Throne of Fire. I think that's probably about right, to be honest. It was a good game by Mike Singleton, but it was a little bit flawed. I think it was not absolutely perfect. So I think 3 stars is probably about right. Pretty average according to the software star ratings. A lot of people don't like the 5-star ratings. I must admit it doesn't seem a particularly accurate way of judging a game to me. The percentage that you got in Crash was a lot more logical way of judging games. Star Raiders 2 gets 5 stars. Now I like Star Raiders 2. I think Crash underrated a little bit. I think it got quite a bad score in Crash, like 50% or something. But 5 stars for this. I mean, it's a very basic shooter. It was quite an old game to get converted to the specky. So 5 stars, not so sure about that. The Sentinel, on the other hand, is fully deserving of its 5-star status, in my opinion. So money off vouchers, which is always cool. Head Over Heels, another 5-star game, which I think is quite deserved. And then we've got a couple more here. We've got Nether Earth, which gets 5 stars as well, and Kinetic, which also gets 5 stars. Now, they're decent games. Don't think they're really 5 stars. I think they're chucking them around a little bit. Oh, sorry, Kinetic doesn't get 5 stars. It only gets 4. So, but Nether Earth gets 5. Okay, ever onwards. a sort of RPG fantasy adventure, so a little extra bonus there. An advert for Kinetic. Nothing to do with it getting 4 stars, of course. More adverts. Top 20 chart. Now, I'm not quite sure how this chart was comprised in Sinclair User, whether it was reader votes like the Crash one, or whether it was sales. I've got a feeling it might be sales. On top there, you've got Feud, which was an excellent game from Bulldog. I think it was only $1.99, not $2.99, but anyway, they've got $2.99 there. And a few more budget games are in the top 5 here. You've got BMX Simulator and Ollie and Lissa. So the fact that there's a lot of budget games there would kind of suggest to me that this is a sales chart. But there's still lots of decent games there, although you can see here that Footballer of the Year, which I thought was a decent game. It's where you play like one footballer and sort of take his career and see how it goes. Only gets 1 star, and Super Soccer, which, let's face it, was not very good, gets 4 stars. So there you go, some odd scores being put out there. Just a couple of pages for the letters, which is contrast to the Crash letters page, which often ran to half a dozen pages. Nemesis the Warlock. Now, again, this is I would say a decent game, but is it deserving of 5 stars? Not really sure about that. It was quite a limited game. Really, 5 stars should only be doled out to games which are classics. Nemesis the Warlock, as much as I like it, is not a classic. So here we go. Dragon's Lair 2, 4 stars for Dragon's Lair 2, which I thought was dreadful. So a bit generous there. Sci-Fi Trading gets 2 stars. World Games, another 5-star award there, so there's quite a few perfect games going on here. And Indoor Sports, which gets 4 stars. Air Hockey apparently is the best game on there. Lots of budget games. Thrust 2, no, I've never played Thrust 2, but I remember after the first game got a Crash Smash, or close to a Crash Smash. This got slated in Crash, I think it only got 40% or something, but it gets 5 stars in Sinclair users, so quite a difference of opinion there. And some other budget games are 4 stars there for Kobayashi Naru. Amarort gets 5 stars. Eyeball only gets 4. That got a Crash Smash, that game. And poor old Cyrox here from Players gets a measly 1 star. Bad luck at Powerhouse. So, some interesting scores going on here. Code Talk with Mr. John Rittman, very nice chap, John Rittman. Interviewed him a couple of times for various articles, and he talks there about all his favourite games and secret coding techniques. A history of platform games. Outlands, which was basically part of the magazine that focused on coin ops and other media such as books and videos. Some adventure games and a couple more cheapo games. Andrew Hewson there of Hewson Software writing his column. Doc the Destroyer, which I also remember being a pretty naff game, and that gets 4 stars as well. So lots of stars being doled out here. Professional Adventure Writer Review. Nice advert for Enduro Racer. Short Circuit, another 5 stars. I mean, Paul Owens, he was a good coder, and Ocean, they did some good games, and Short Circuit wasn't terrible by any stretch of the imagination, but 5 stars really. I mean, that's the same score as Head Over Heels. Gordo's Helpline, help with adventure games. So lots of adventure game reviews, some strategy game reviews as you'd expect. A preview of Taipan, which was one of the big 1 to 8K only games. And a few more reviews to wrap up here. And a lot of the magazines did this, a look at various fanzines. Oh, crikey. Some of the reviews coming in, and some previews right at the end. Just a commentary previews right at the end. So there you go. Quite a few reasons there why I didn't buy a Sinclair user. Was that a picture of the lovely Maria? Yes, we can't get that pass. That's Maria Whittaker, of course, there, kneeling down provocatively in between Wolf, Michael Van Wyck, and Steve Brown, who was the designer of Barbarian. So, there you go. That is this issue of Sinclair User. Quite a few scores to get your teeth into there. And then we have Your Sinclair. Now, this issue is quite famous because, as you can see, Ocean's Road Race, and this was the game that was given away on the cover. So the cassette magazine cassette wars, the cover mount wars that a lot of people remember so fondly or not so fondly. This is kind of where it started, with Ocean giving away Road Race, which I didn't think was that good really. You could kind of understand why Ocean gave it away. So moving swiftly onto here, let's have a look what we've got. Usual previews and news at the front. Your Sinclair obviously had a rather irreverent style to it, with lots of humour in it. Future Shocks. Well, this came out the same month as Sinclair User, and Sinclair User reviewed that game, so something going on a bit wrong there. I think they also reviewed Bismarck and Zulu as well, and Dr. Destroyer. So someone's either reviewing games that aren't quite out, or Your Sinclair aren't quite as quick on the ball. Letters page, quite early on, a few more letters for Your Sinclair. And here's Road Race. As you can see, it doesn't really look great, but at the time obviously we were getting a whole free game on the cover of a magazine, so no one really complained. And it's kind of got a nice night level as well. The hit list, again I'm not quite sure how this is comprised this, but leaderboard is sitting at the top with Bombjack 2 behind it, and there's old Ollie and Lisa again with Feud, which was at no, it's a new entry, sorry, it's fresh on the chart into number 6 with BMX Simulator just behind it. So, word search there, uncompleted. That could kill a few hours later. Lots of playing tips again. All the mags have playing tips. Oh, bit cut out there. It's strange, don't know why. There's a sort of part of the Enduro Racer advert cut out there. Caption competition for what was that? Thing on a spring. Yeah, must be. Thing bounces back. Not the original game, that didn't come out on the Spectrum. Right, reviews. This is a bit odd because it wasn't reviewed in Sinclair Users, a May issue of 1987, but Into the Eagle's Nest. And I think this is a great game, and a score of 9 is thoroughly justified. So well done, Your Sinclair. Reviewed by Marcus Berkman there. Arkanoid. This was controversial in Crash because it only got 59%, but whilst it gets 9 here, which is probably a bit over the top, I do remember Arkanoid being a lot of fun at the time, so I think that's a pretty good score. Then you got Bombjack 2, which got 6. I've never actually played that, but you did get Bombjack with it. And Short Circuit. Everyone seems to love Short Circuit. That gets 8 in Your Sinclair. Thrust 2, everyone seems to love Thrust 2 as well, and that gets 9 in Your Sinclair. I'm not sure if a game actually ever got the magic 10 in Your Sinclair. Skyrunner, which was from Cascade, which was quite a neat little shooting game, and Sailing gets 7. Grange Hill gets 6, Ace of Aces 7, and Marble Madness 8. So some fairly decent scores here. I would say that these are more or less on the money, these scores from Your Sinclair. Lots of features. Oh, this is a feature about Martech, I think, isn't it? Yeah, Martech, they quite like to get stars involved in their games. So they had Eddie Kidd and Jeff Capes doing some games for them, or starring in some games for them. World Games Review. This was reviewed in Your Sinclair, of course, or sorry, in Sinclair User, and they gave it 5 stars, and it gets 9 here. A Jack the Nipper cartoon, which I remember being quite fun. Mike Gerard did the adventure section in Your Sinclair. Nice advert for Durell. Durell were a good software house. They were really consistent. If you look at the games they have here, Thanatos was a really good game. Deep Strike was a good sort of like combat sim. Saboteur 2 was a worthy follow-up to the first game. Fatworm Blows a Sparky was a really odd game, but it was good fun to play. And this compilation here contains 4 of their older games, including the brilliant Turbo Esprit and the original Saboteur. The only weak one I would say is this shoot 'em up here, Sigma 7. Well, that was still a decent game. Lots of adventure reviews as well. The Veracruz Affair tips there. Dragon's Lair 2, well, Your Sinclair like that as well. 8 out of 10, so maybe it's just me. SWAT by the Powerhouse gets 4 out of 10. Octagon by a company called Rhino, never heard of them, gets 7 out of 10, another budget game. And Fractuous, 7 out of 10. Skip to a Baghdad. Now I liked that game. That was really good. That was one of Atlantis. Atlantis weren't renowned for great games, but that was a pretty decent budget game for $1.99. And How to Be a Hero, which was written by Stuart Middleton, who also did Universal Hero for Mastertronic, which was much better than that. And then in amongst all the budget games is poor old Martianoids here by Ultimates Farewell on the Specky, and that gets just 6 out of 10. So yeah, it wasn't great. Martianoids. Terror of the Deep, which I thought was awful. It was a really boring game. That gets 8. Yeah, okay. Oh, is that a bad score? Yes. Smudge. Poor old Smudge and the Moonies. 3 out of 10. No idea what that game's like. But it only gets 3 out of 10. So that looks like it's about it. Lots of classified ads in the back of your Sinclair, and some adverts, and we've got our teasers at the back here, which was Theresa Morn, who always sort of talked about games that were coming up and what was happening in the industry. There's a little cartoon of CRL's Ninja Hamster, and we've got a nice fold-out advert here for Imagine. So you've got Taipan, that 1 to 8K only game I talked about earlier, Head Over Heels, Mario Bros and Short Circuit, all from Ocean, and Arkanoid. I never know if it's Magmax or Macmax, I think it says there. Magmax, okay, Magmax and Army Moves. So there you go, there's a couple of Crash Magazine's rivals I've had a quick look through as well. Your Sinclair user, I must admit, looking through them now has not really changed my mind that I made the right choice in the 80s and the early 90s by reading Crash instead of these two, or regularly reading Crash instead of these two. Thanks for watching, and I'll post another video soon. Cheers, bye.